Turn up the volume and grab your notebook. It's time to live life consciously. Welcome to Conscious Not Crazy. I'm Corey, your host, and a parent just like you. I'm here to share from my own experiences as a parent and educator to help you better understand the why behind your child's behavior and to provide you with tools to end all of the exhausting and unproductive power struggles. So feel proud you took the first step by tuning into this podcast. I hope this approach to parenting changes your life the way it changed mine. Welcome back to Conscious Not Crazy. I'm Corey, your host, and I'm super excited to be back today. And I'm back with a special guest, Efrat Shokef. She lives in Israel, so we're doing this from afar today, which I feel blessed and grateful that she's taking time to come on Conscious Not Crazy. And she's here to tell us a little bit about her book she's written, The Promise We Made. She's a social psychologist. She works with children and families, and she's a mama of 3 girls. So, Efrat, tell us a little bit about how the book came to be and a little bit more about you. I know I said social psychologist, but there's a lot more to you. So tell us a little about you and how you came to where you are today.
Thank you for having me, Corey. This is exciting. We had our preliminary talk, and I just love your work, and I hope it reaches as many people as possible. My journey started when we came here. We were on a journey. We continue on when we die, and we continue our journey. So my journey started. This specific journey I'm sharing today started when my babies were all very small. My toddler was a little over 3, and my twin girls were 13 months old. And I was involved in a car crash and had a near-death experience at the same time. And then I was thrown into a long period of physical recovering and reorganization. I was severely wounded, like multiple injuries, which meant it's like an earthquake. The landscape cannot stay as it was. It wasn't intended to stay as it was. A pressure needed to evaporate and something needed to change. So it was a very clear invitation that my life cannot return to what it was. And that was not the intention or the invitation. And then there was that piece of the luminosity. I always knew there was something beyond, but I was not among those who were reading spiritual books or exploring it. It was just something that, like, we as moms, I think we all walk with our intuition. We all have that knowing connecting us to what's right, what's wrong. And I never asked questions. It didn't occupy with me. And then in the near-death experience, I was just floating in love. Where we come from, where we return to, that passage of our visit, of our journey to Earth, it's a love that I carry in myself. It's a love that I think that while I experienced it and was reminded of it in my near-death experience, I think most moms that have a good birth experience it at that moment of holding their baby for the first time. Unfortunately, a lot of birth experiences are challenging, but even then, there is that moment that you connect with that baby, and sometimes it happens only a few months later. And sometimes if you're adopting or if you're a step parent, it happens even later. But it happened, that moment of, oh, we're on a shared journey. And I came back with a lot of insights from my near-death experience, but I think the most profound one that was leading me was understanding that we were more. But having that understanding came without any carpet beneath my feet. So I had no idea what I was dealing with. I had no words to express what I experienced. And today I know that most people that have near-death experience or transcendent experiences from other types, religious or not religious, the gap from our regular life is so huge that we need to find the words. There are no words to express it.
Well, and I'm sure it changes your perspectives and appreciation. And I know you talked a little bit about even your identity as a mother, because our identities as a mother sometimes get wrapped up in the day-to-day things. And after the accident, you had mentioned like you couldn't do those basic tasks for your girls. And that would be hard because you feel probably somewhat helpless. And it's hard to let go of the control or having the want to do that for them and feeling like, wow, I can't do that, and redefining your own definition of motherhood. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I think the identity piece meets me in two places. In the journey, I was shedding because I was not able to do nothing I've done before, teaching, giving lectures, meeting friends. All my definitions, being a sister, being a daughter, I wasn't. My mom she was caring to me like she was taking care of my own daughters, helping me shower. It was like we were in a real regression of what was happening. And so I was shedding everything. But that identity of being a mom was the one identity I was not willing to shed. I was not willing to let go of. I was not doing anything. I was not a mom. I was in the hospital for a long time. Then I was coming in and going because I had more operations and all kinds of treatments. And I was absent in the house because I was not doing anything. But that piece, I needed to be their mom. It was the one motivation, but I wasn't their mom the way I was before.
Right. And I was going to say, because you said, well, I wasn't a mom, but I'm like, you were always the mom. You just couldn't show up as you had previously within the action.
Exactly.
And I think there's a book called Atomic Habits, and I love that book. And it talks a lot about identity. And I think too often athletes identify too strongly with, I'm a good baseball player, I'm a good basketball player. And then the majority of kids or adults that even play to the college level don't go on to play professional ball. It's a very small percentage. And if their identity is so wrapped up in that, instead of the qualities that make them good at that, just like our identities as moms sometimes probably do get a little bit wrapped up in the tasks, but really it's what are the qualities that make me a mom? The empathy, the connection, the love, all of those things. So it's just having to shift or change your perspective of that, which I think is great. And it's unfortunate that it was an accident. That's scary that you had to go through all that. But I do think hard things bring us good things. I literally have an arrow tattooed, an arrow on my arm, because before an arrow will shoot forward, you have to pull it back. So often in life, I feel like we're challenged and we're pulled back before we shoot into something great. So it's so awesome to see that something good came of the bad and that you framed it that way.
Yeah, but I think if I go back to I think that as moms in the modern culture, we have a lot of tasks, and we often, I like the way you put it about the qualities of what we're doing. We often lose ourselves in the doing, realizing and accepting that what defined my motherhood, and I was a very devoted mom even before everything happened, was by the doing, was a very difficult piece to recognize. And I noticed this also with a lot of parents that I work with today, stopping, taking the deep breath and saying, what are my qualities? And what is my unique contribution to this relationship with each of my kids? And each of my kids can be a different, unique quality that is being awakened in that shared piece of that and mom and child, because it's always mutual. It's a difficult process. I think in a way I had the gift of time because I was resting, and I had the gift of divine guidance to guide me and reflect and mirror those qualities that made my girls choose me as their mom. That choice of a shared journey, that choice of the promise we made. It's a promise we made to ourselves and to our children. Only after I read my own book, only lately, I realized how much it is also about the promise we made to ourselves. To speak truth, not in speaking truth in the religious manner, speaking truth, the truth of my heart, your heart, that knowing that walks within us about what's right and wrong, what choices we want to make. What is our path about? What are we here to learn or to give? A lot about giving. And then when we align, our truth is the same. We're all working with you and I. We come from different parts of the globe. Our perspectives are somewhat different and somewhat so similar, wishing parents to show up the way they are meant to show up. And each parent and each child bring a different invitation. So it's a promise of being who we are, aligning to our inner deepest truth. And for that to happen, we need to cultivate it, which is a second promise, attentiveness. Because if we don't stop to listen, we don't stop to breathe. And goes back to the identity piece of doing. If we're defined by the doing, then we don't have the time to say, yes, okay, I'm willing to acknowledge my qualities, which touches, I think, on another piece, which I noticed with a lot of my clients of, okay, we're saying what we're good at.
Right. People.
Our gifts.
Yeah. Because it's hard. And I catch myself even saying, you need to do it. You need to acknowledge those gifts 100%. And yeah, because we feel like we're bragging or we're not being humble sometimes when we do that. Or yeah. So I 100% agree with that. And the other thing I hear in all of this, which is something I focus on with parents, is I talk a lot about modeling behavior. And so what I hear you saying is you have gifts that you need to share and you need to understand that to be the best parent you can be, right? It's not just my identity as a mother, it's my identity as a person. And by being able to do that, we're modeling that. And we all have different gifts. We all aren't born to do the same thing. And that doesn't mean one's better or not, but we're not all meant to be good at the same thing because that would be really boring. Another way I say that too is that requires that inner work. You had that piece, you didn't have a choice, you got it in an unfortunate way, but it's hard for people because we're so inundated with emails and activities, all the things, all the doing, that it's hard to take that time. I think we have guilt when we stop and we sit down and we slow down to really unravel our own stuff, our own junk, and our own preconditioned responses to things. So one of the things I heard this listening to a speaker, and it was healed parents heal people, hurt people hurt people. So really to be the best, and I talk about this, to be the best parent you can be, you have to become the best version of yourself. And that is healing childhood trauma. And there's different types of trauma. When we say trauma, people think often abuse or physical trauma, but there's emotional trauma. We all have some type of trauma. It just looks different based on how we were raised. But it's that pre-programming, and you can rewire the pathways of your own brain. It just requires consciousness, hence the conscious, not crazy. And again, I think we both stumbled upon what we do because we had kids and we wanted to be the best mom we could be for our kids, which led us to podcasts and books and all these fun things.
Yeah, I think there's another layer that I find it important to stress to what you're saying. Children choose the parent that would maximize the chances of fulfilling their paths here in this lifetime. And this choice has both personal perspectives of the condition, your personality, your genetics, the cultural environment, all kinds of pieces that craft the conditions. And then there is that piece of the promise itself, because it's being our best version of ourselves. It needs to be aligned to who we are in essence. It is also the only way for us to truly serve our children. Why is that? Because for some interesting reasons, that could be a whole different conversation. We don't remember the signs and posts that we put for our paths. You don't remember yours. I don't remember mine. We find them and then we know, oh, that's a precise moment. I'm here. It's a soul moment. I'm in line. I just chose something, and it can be like something as stopping in the road to look at something, or really, really small actions that sometimes give us that deja vu of saying, oh, that's a soul moment. I'm aligned to myself. We don't know ours, and we don't know the soul journey of our children. So the only way we can serve them is by modeling being on your path. So for some people, that means that they need to tune in. For some people, that's becoming conscious and rewiring your brain. For other people, and that's the type of work that I do, is more shamanic, deep soul healing that unweaves like all kinds of vows and curses and things that happen on the family line and are not even yours. You're not living them, but for some reason you inherited them. As we heal and we become ourselves, we show up for that modeling of be who you are. And I'm for that because that's what I'm doing. And we are also unweaving all kinds of wounding that run in family lines, and our kids don't have to deal with them.
Well, and I call that breaking the cycle, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like we were raised in a generation where children should be seen and not heard. Do as I say, not as I do. Well, just because I told you so, don't smirk at me. don't cry, and often with boys. Girls, be polite, be kind, to the point where I was supposed to be so kind that I grew up being a people pleaser. That was something I had to overcome. But yes, 100%, when you figure out what it is, and we have slightly different ways of viewing this, but yet it's the same thing. What you're calling, what you're meant to do, it does feel different when you feel aligned, because it doesn't become about what I get out of it. It's what I can give. It's how do I help? And it's very purposeful. My passion for what I do is because I was feeling like a failure as a parent. I didn't like how I was managing my kids' behavior. It didn't feel in alignment. It didn't feel good. And I discovered a much better way. Have I perfected it? No, that will be a work in progress for the rest of my life. Last night, my son I love him. He was rude to me after his football game, and we bent over backwards for him. And I had a moment. I don't take much personal. I really grown in my ability to not do that. But it was like a punch in the gut. And I'm like, wow. But I'm very careful because I never want my kids to feel like their behavior, they're responsible for their behavior, and their behavior has consequences, but they're not responsible for my feelings or how I react. I have to own that, but I also need to communicate because my feelings are also valid, right? And he was super sweet and apologized, and he's hormonal teenager, so to be expected. And what I hear you saying too is we have this belief system, and I often refer to that, just for my audience's sake of making the connection, is limiting beliefs. We as humans have a lot of limiting beliefs. I mean, it might be as simple as I used to say, I'm not book smart. And it's because I struggled with reading. I love books. I've read hundreds of books through audio because I'm probably dyslexic, just like my son. So we establish these limiting beliefs unknowingly based on things that are said to us. You talk too much. So we have these limiting beliefs that now become long-term beliefs, and they affect the choices we make. So undoing and unraveling those is another way I would say that. But yes, we're definitely on the same page.
Yeah, it's exactly the same idea. I think what I've learned in this shamanic work is that sometimes we really unweave. I see amazing humans, amazing parents really do conscious work, working with themselves, using various tools, unweaving and becoming conscious of their expression, emotion, behavior, reactions, owning their stuff. But then there is a piece that is not theirs. And we internalize social limiting beliefs, things that come through the family. And sometimes that needs like a deeper piece of work. If anybody that is listening to us is really doing the work, then, and you're stuck and you're really stuck, find someone that works with energy around you. And there are people everywhere, just because sometimes a deeper unweaving needs to take place.
Yeah. And energy is a real thing. Like, I make it a point. I read this somewhere. It's like, how could I add value to at least one person every day? And that might just be smiling at somebody. So I intentionally smile at the homeless person, and it feels, and I'm not doing it because I want something from it, but it's just to really see people, listen to people, understand people without any kind of judgment, like literally going into situations and places with an open mind and carrying a positive energy with that is so fulfilling. It feels, and you get what you give. Whatever you put out there, if you're negative energy, negative, talking, you're going to get more of that. Because whatever you focus on, I would imagine this is an energy thing. Whatever you give your attention to, you're going to 100% get more of that. So if you're focused on, I don't have any money, if you're focused on, I'm a horrible parent, you're going to continue to show up as that because you're telling yourself. And I tell my kids that all the time. They'll be like, we're going to lose this game. I'm like, if you tell yourself you're going to lose, you are. But do we really think that? Or are you nervous about the game? Let's reframe. Let's not say things like that, because that's a limiting belief, and that's how you're going to show up. And it comes from fear. It's fear of not wanting to lose. So it comes out that way. So yeah, we do a lot of, and my kids just roll their eyes like, I know, Mom.
I think it's something, a lack that our society walks with, is of not being worthy and not being enough. And it's like, so we say a lot of things so that if we fail, But then energetically, it is creating, or it's not really creating, but it's in my experience, but it is giving a quantum of energy in the wrong direction. And it's a very subtle dance, because a lot of children are so powerful energetically. But then if we teach them too much about manifestation, then they stop living in themselves if something doesn't come true. So for parents, it's this really delicate dance of let's put our quantum of energy in the direction of what we want. We want to win the game, and we know that we can win the game, and knowing that sometimes it's okay also with shift. And you said something else that I really feel like I want to touch on, and that sending the energy of a smile, of walking in that giving energy. There's a term called the great giveaway, that if we walk giving, and not giving in order to get anything, not expecting anything in return, that is where true gratitude comes. And that's where we come into Aini. Aini is a kind of concept, balanced relationship. But balanced relationship, not just between me and you talking now, but energetically wider. And I think this is a really important understanding for parenting, because as parents, we constantly give. That's part of in the earthly plane, we give. We prepare food, we do the laundry, we drive, we can come over the crazy list of things that we do. But that energetically, there is a balance, because our kids bring triggers that invite us to grow. They bring invitation. They teach us. They remind us of our own beauty and playfulness and joy. And it's this balance is created in all kinds of ways. But when we give that energy and we come from that energy, what melts is a personal judgment.
Yeah.
We can just be in that interaction. I think this is what my daughters taught me. Just be in the interaction, see what we're doing, see the invitation and take it in.
Well, and kids they live in the moment. They live in the moment. They're not worried about the past so much. As they age a little bit more, they're not worried about the future. They're literally living in the moment. They're very egocentric, which is all developmentally appropriate, but 100%. And I love that. And there was something you said, we were talking about energy and smiling. Oh, I think when my kids say those things, because you said, don't just think you're going to win and you're going to win. I never focus on that. I just focus on that if we think the worst, we're not going to have ourselves win. So yes, definitely. We don't want them living in La La Land. Visualization's a thing. I do believe in visualization.
Oh, it works.
It does 100%. And it's only going to help us. Is the journey going to look perfect? No, that doesn't mean I know exactly when it's going to happen, but I know if I continue to focus on it and visualize it, it does usually happen. It just might not look, but usually it's pretty close.
If it's aligned to your past. Sometimes people visualize and want things that are completely not theirs. It's not going to happen. So it needs to be aligned to who you are. And then it comes in the version that is perfect.
You said it better, because that is exactly what I meant. It happens, but yes, when it is meant to be. It's about trusting the process. For me, it's about having more faith than fear and letting go of control. And that's hard. And I know that's hard for a lot of parents with kids. I focus on positive intent too, seeing the best in others. When you have someone that's rude to you, wow, they must be having a really bad day. I'm going to smile at them, and and you never know. I interviewed a gentleman who's a public speaker a couple weeks ago, and he's been to prison 3 times and had a rough childhood, but has come out of that and made the best of it. Is a motivational speaker for people now. He's writing a book and he's done all kinds of amazing stuff, but he also has a lighting business and he works in a bucket truck. And this is Coffee Cup Chuck is his name. He's awesome. And he was in the bucket truck one day, and there was a guy that walked up to this bridge where he was working and was just standing there. And he said he looked so angry, and Chuck looked at him and said something positive to him. And the man looked at him kind of, he was like, well, I don't know what that did, but he turned around and walked away. About a year later, he runs into this man again in a gas station. And the man comes up and hugs him. He said, you saved my life. He was going to jump off the bridge. So talk about energy and having an impact. And wow.
You never know. We don't know the stories of people that we meet, our neighbors, unless we ask questions. you don't talk intimately with everyone and tell your whole story. like I share in my book, but it's not all there.
We might, but
so it's being that open and accepting that nobody else's. We don't know what happened in school today when our kids come edgy. We don't know what happened in our partner's drive home. We don't know what happened. So we talk about things and communicate. And communication is so important. But then it's also that openness of the heart that you're describing, of being okay with and not taking anything personally and just being there for others.
Yeah, but not
reflecting that something else is possible.
Yeah. And not taking it personal is so hard for people. I think too often in the world we live in, everybody wants to blame everybody. There's no accountability and people take everyone's behavior. It's like, no, they're angry. It has nothing to do with you. And even when your child talks back, or even like my son, like there's everybody, I always give an iceberg theory. The tip of the iceberg is the behavior you see, but what everything below is what's driving. So we never know what's below unless we dig in and uncover. I always recommend just asking questions. So like, how was your day? What's going on? I noticed you seem a little upset, approaching it with positive intent and in a way and noticing behavior. So I love that. We had talked a little bit about when parents come to you, they come to you often because they're struggling with their kids. And you said you always end up working with the parents first. Tell us, why is that so important?
I don't think it's right. My personal perspective is that I don't think it's right to bring your child to healing modalities that is not mainstream without you knowing exactly what happens and how it works. And energy healing and shamanic healing is not mainstream. It's an amazing tool. People to try it once, feel it in their experience, and always return. But it's still something that you don't take your child to something you don't know about. So that's the first rule that guides me. One of the parents, if not two of them, if there are two parents, sometimes there are three, there are all kinds of combinations. It's so beautiful that this is the way it is nowadays. One of them has to have the experience and then be with the child while I'm working, whether it's online, remote, in their sleep, and so forth. And the second reason is that so many pieces that our children bring are about our triggers and our own healing, which take us back to the beginning of our conversation. And often working with the parents solves the issue because the child brings a behavior so that the parent would do the work. The parent, if they take responsibility, and those that I am fortunate to work with are mostly parents that really take responsibility. They go deep and in their processes and in their soul journey and the shared journey. So the parent solves the issue. The child doesn't have to bring that behavior as a trigger any longer.
I love that. Yeah, it's not blaming parents. It's not shaming parents. It's just because I did that. When my kids were little and I started my journey, my kids were 2 and 4, and my 4-year-old was challenging. And all the things that make him difficult to parent will serve him so well as he grows. And they are serving him well as he's growing into a young man. But it was like, not knowing what I know now, it's like, what do we need to do to fix this so my life's easier? I mean, that's just what it felt like. It was difficult. It was challenging and I was overwhelmed. And what I found is I need to fix me. It's how I'm responding and reacting. And I had to really dig in and understand my own triggers and break those patterns and habits. So 100%.
Not about fixing you. You didn't fix you. You healed you.
Okay, healed me. Yes.
Healed you.
Yeah, I'll take it.
No, it's not about fixing. We're okay. In each moment, we're okay as we are. Right. And we're different as parents because the same two children will bring the same trigger. But for each mom, the trigger is inviting a completely different process.
Yeah.
Because that's a soul choice of who you're walking with and why you're walking with that person. And I think we also need to remember that while a lot of those triggers are for invitations for us, some of what our kids bring is not ours. And it doesn't matter how much energy work, how deep we go at the soul level, how we work with every modality existing, they're not ours. It is something that they brought for their own journey. If we heal everything that we can on our own, then we take off their plate a lot of stuff and dealing with what they have to deal with
will
be easier.
Well, and what I say to parents is when you aren't reactive and when you stay composed and when you're healed, not fixed. I love that because you are right. That is better. You can correct me anytime. I'm good with, I love it because we're all growing and learning, right? I tell parents that then you can show up to be your best self by modeling composure because aggression begets aggression. So if everybody's just shouting, nobody's listening, nobody's learning, there's no coaching, there's no learning. Whereas if we can stay composed, can we not take things personal, not be triggered, not see their behavior has nothing to do with me. Instead, I can show up and coach and talk them through their problem and teach them healthy coping and problem solving skills. So yes, and that again, we're saying the same thing.
It has so many layers. And I think each mom and each dad and each significant adult, because they're significant adults that are like parents, it's just about observing and sometimes asking at what layer is it? Is it now at a layer of taking the invitation for myself? It is at the layer that I need to give my child the guidance on how to talk, how to work their emotions, how to integrate the experience they had. And it's hard work. It's hard because there's so many layers to it. Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't do it for a couple of reasons. My favorite thing to say is don't give up better for perfect because they don't feel like they can do it perfect. So they never try to just be better. And I think they're scared, the whole thing you talked about of failing. It's like, instead of just like the self-sabotage stuff, it's like, instead of trying because I'm afraid I'm going to fail at it, they don't try. And I don't shame them or blame them. I understand it, but it's just a matter of noticing and recognizing this is going to be better for you. It's going to make your life easier. It's going to make your kids' life easier. And it's just a much healthier way to raise children and you'll grow as a person in the process.
Yeah. What you're describing is so sad that parents give up because sometimes all the children need is that energetic communication that I'm observing as a parent, that I'm opening my eyes to the shared journey. Not even actions, no actions, nothing changes in the outside, but the fact that a parent is not giving up. If they give up, their kids get that energetic communication and they're going to give up and they're going to not walk their true selves. But if a parent is just saying, okay, this is a lot for me, I'm just going to observe for a moment. They're not even taking any action. That's an amazing, powerful, energetic communication that tells that soul of the child, I'm not there, I know, but I'm going to try. And that gives that a deeper breath, like an extended time that the child can still stay true to themselves. And then it's little actions that start rolling and something is starting to shift.
I love it 100%. Because I always tell parents the first steps, do nothing. Just do nothing. Just sit in the moment. Think about what you're feeling.
Smart advice.
Right. And then I say, you're going to do something. You're going to do that one little thing and you're going to probably fail at it. And don't let that discourage you. It's going to feel uncomfortable or awkward, or you're going to think you're not doing it right. And you go, you're probably not. But that's okay because you have to keep trying it on and getting it wrong. Failure is how we learn. Unfortunately, there's such a negative association in the world with failure, but anyone that's ever done anything has failed a million times. I mean, even with what we're doing, I'm sure it's like every day, oh, no, that didn't work. So now we got to pivot. We got to pivot and do something different. So it's just rolling those, and that's how we learn and that's how we grow. Okay. So tell me, like, just to kind of summarize the 3 promises, and then tell me how, if someone wants to buy your book, if someone wants to work with you, how they find you.
So this is a book, The Promise We Made. And in it, I outlined both how I got the download and how I understood the promises of encouraging our children to walk their truth, what the conditions that they need to be walking their truth, attentiveness, and our promise to show up in small soul moments of alignment that often start with finding those unaligned moments, just like you just said. The book can be found on Amazon. Just type in my name, Efrat Shokef, or The Promise We Made, and it shows up. And it can also be ordered to any small bookshop and other online bookshops. And I love small bookshops. So if you would like to have the book and you have a small bookshop around you, then you can just go, give them the name. It's probably not there, but you can order it and it will come there. So it's not only through Amazon. And all the information about working with me, a lot of articles, information, workshops, everything is on my website that goes by my name, efratshokef.com.
Awesome. And I
wrote free resources and so people can explore and get to know me and my work.
And I will make sure for all the listeners out there that the book link from Amazon and the website and all of that is in the show notes. So I will make sure that is all there. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. It's amazing talking to you. It's like how we bring different perspectives, like the different language to the same ideas. It's
absolutely. I love it. Well, we always learn anytime I have a conversation with somebody with a slightly different perspective, but yet same message and same want, I would say. Something. There's some takeaway. With every book I read, there's always this one nugget I get out of it. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and you take care. Thanks so much for tuning in to Conscious Not Crazy. I hope you're finding comfort in knowing you are not alone. Parenting is hard and the struggle is real. I am forever grateful for this amazing community of like-minded parents striving to simply do better than yesterday. Until next time, keep on living life consciously. I can't wait to connect with you again soon. Be sure to follow me on Facebook and visit my website, consciousnotcrazy.com. All the details can be found in the show notes. Now go get back to the never-ending, exhausting, and yet most fulfilling job you'll ever do.